Hello there, it is 12 o'clock and I'm going to be doing these on a regular basis, on a weekly basis. So you can ask me anything about PR, anything about becoming visible, anything about self-promotion, anything at all about your marketing. So it'd be great if you can join me, type in the comment box below so I can see your questions. And I'm just going to go into my PR secrets group so I can actually read as opposed to having to squint on the screen. So please excuse me, I'm just setting this up. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to just first of all run over something which is quite interesting, or run through rather, because I did a press release. Well, I've actually just sent out a press release, and I did a blog piece yesterday, and I put it across LinkedIn. I did it in Twitter. I stuck it into my actual website, and it's all about my killer tips on how to be seen as the go-to expert. Now, I know that a lot of people here in this group are actually already experts, but how many of you are actually frustrated when you keep seeing the same person time and time again, you know, being wheeled out on those news programs, or, you know, having columns in magazines which you love to get into, you know? So is that quite a common thing with you? If it is, I'm going to give you the 5 steps on how you can be seen as the go-to expert. So number 1. I remember this. Basically, I set up my own business back in 2008. It was a knitwear business. Here's one of the products, actually, beautiful scarf, alpaca scarf made in Peru. And I knew instantly, because I'd worked with my mother's business, I knew that getting into the press was really, really important, because that literally game changed her business. She had a mention in the Daily Mail, and that literally transformed her business. Overnight, we had sackload and sackload of letters requesting her catalogues, which was fantastic. I knew that when I launched my knitwear business, I also would have to get into the press, because it's all very well, you know, you spend so many blood, sweat and tears actually creating your website, getting a sexy logo, getting all the copyright, getting the lovely headshots or the product shots and all the rest of it. But getting eyeballs onto your website is so important. So what I did was I managed to secure some press for myself, which was brilliant. But I did keep on getting green with envy when I kept on seeing my competition constantly being mentioned in the press. Now, these were very, very big organisations. They had, they had huge budgets and all the rest of it. And I was just a little fledgling small business, but I still knew that I had to get into the press. And so that was my only way and my only weapon to compete against them. Now, I know that someone's watching this, so can you just give me a thumbs up to say that you can hear me? I need to make sure that you can hear from my microphone. So if you can hear, let me know. Okay, so anyway, so here we are. What you do to become an expert in your field. It's very simple, but it's not like you can do it overnight. You can if you've actually got a really great bio already set and going, but this is what you do first off. Write out a list of, and this also kind of answers the question, because it is so often, it's my most FAQ. How do I know which publications to target when I want to get into the press? So this is what you do. Write a list initially about the publications you'd love to get into, okay? But they may not be relevant for where your audience is hanging out, your ideal target client. So how do you find out which publications or news outlets that your target audience is actually listening to? So what you do is actually ask them the question. You might have seen in PR Secrets the other day, I asked, I just put out the question, which press do you consume? So I had some really interesting answers, you know, and it was even the Village Gazette, the Parish Council magazine. And do you know what? It's not a bad thing to be seen as a local expert in your village, because you might have some amazing, you might have the CEO of Google living in your village. So that's the thing. So try and find out where your target audience is hanging out. So ask them. So ask the questions to your to your current clients, to your past clients. Just say, I'd love to ask you a question. What do you read? You know, which kind of magazines? What do you listen to? And what do you watch on the TV? And then they'll give you a long list, hopefully. Some people just say, I don't watch any news, and I'm not into it at all, but I get all my stuff in Facebook. So, you know, that could be one place to start as well. So get a list, okay, and that's that. Once you've got a list of where your ideal client hangs out, the next step is to actually go to the magazine aisles. Now, don't get, you don't have to buy them all whatsoever, but literally pick them up, flick through them, and just say, okay, so I know, I'm going to just look at a photograph I've got here. I know that I'm going to talk about the knitwear. My target audience reads Good Housekeeping, They definitely read Heat, they read Grazia, and I know that they read Marie Claire. So it's those publications which I really want to get into bed with. So I recommend over the next month or so, if you actually invest, this is the only kind of bit of PR investment you would need to do, is buy those 3 magazines over the course of, 2 or 3 months. Now, by doing that, you're actually learning how to target the press. You're going to learn all about, which magazine, how the layout is, what the stories are about, who writes the features. You can get, I know Psychologist magazine, they have the Fix, they have the Dossier, just get used to those magazines. They'll have a shopping page, which is if you've got a physical product like my scarf, that's where you want to get seen in. And then you'll kind of get a feeling, and then you think, gosh, my product or my service, or I, as a powerful female entrepreneur, this is you thinking it, or male entrepreneur, I can get visible within this magazine. You can start to vision it as well. So put those magazines, rip off the front cover and stick them onto your wall, okay? By doing that, you're going to get obsessed by them, and then you're going to carry on reading them, you're going to look at them online, and you really will start getting to know that magazine inside out. It's really important to do that. Because you see, I was guilty in the past of not being very targeted. This is before I created my 7-step program. And it's also, and that's why I've got it, because I've done all the mistakes, made all the mistakes, now I can teach you guys how to do it. So if you know how to do it, it's great. So read those magazines, start looking at those key journalists who are writing about, eco-fashion. I really wanted to get into Marie Claire, and it took me 6 months to get into Marie Claire with my pom-pom scarves. 6 months of stalking, 6 months of talking, 6 months of reading every single eco-warrior or eco-friendly article that was written by this one particular woman, the one particular journalist. So that's one way how I did it. Anyway, so you're going to basically get to know your, and it doesn't just talk, I'm not just talking about consumer press, this happens with the trade press, any press, okay? It's always the same kind of way to do it. So once you know your magazine inside out, you'll be getting a feel of their language, and you'll be getting a feel of the kind of topics that you can talk about. So the next step is to write your press kit, or we can also call it your bio, your biography. Now I have just done mine, and mine's on my website, and it's under amandaruiz.co.uk/press-kit. So you can have a look at my press kit there. You can see the media logos that my clients have got into, the media logos which I've got into. You can see the topics which I can talk about. So if I want to position myself as an expert and I want to pitch to to appear again on LBC or any or BBC, Jeremy Vine show, wherever, it's a one-stop shop for the journos to actually look at because they're so busy. So that's one thing. So make sure in your biography that you cover these things. Any awards that you have won. And it could be, if you have a product, it's the the product awards, or it's you as a business person awards. A great professional head and shoulders picture with a clear background, a nice cut-out shot. It doesn't have to be on a clear background, but a great head and shoulders shot, because then the journalist can actually use that great picture when and if they're going to write about you. And then, really importantly, what are the topics or keynotes that you can talk on? So, you might actually want to be a speaker. So you could even pitch this out when you're, appealing or applying for your TEDx talks. But obviously, this will be supplementary in addition to what the actual key questions that the TEDx speakers are actually asking for. But yeah, so what can you talk about? What are your areas of expertise? And then, have you got any affiliations, any companies that you're tied in with? And they could, really show that you've got good leverage or you've got good connections, a great little black book. So can you put down those logos as well? Any press logos that you have, put those in. Yes, and then another great tip is this. If you are, if you've got a really great social media reach, like you've got 20,000 followers on Twitter, 35,000 followers, or even 2,000, 5,000, whatever the numbers are, and they're high, they're in their thousands or tens of thousands, put them into your press kit, because then it shows that you've actually got a great tribe. And a tip for this is, so if I was pitching somebody to have a column in a magazine, and she appeared in that magazine, she had a 4-page spread, Then I wanted to re-pitch her to have a column. So I said, look, my client and friend who's actually got into this magazine, she shared it, and look at the media reach that she's covered, because all magazines and news outlets are really looking for more and more people to read them or listen to them, because, you know, print is actually, you know, unfortunately it's a dying industry, sadly, even though I'm a real paper person, I love paper. So anyway, so it'd be really good for you to share your media reach. That's that. When you have your sexy biography already written and it's already raring to go back to those magazines and refresh your mind about it, because it might take you a week or it might take you 2 or 3 days, but when you're ready to go in for the kill, go in for it. So what you need to do is refresh your memory about that particular magazine. And I don't want you to do a spray and pray. I want you to be very targeted and go one magazine at a time, all right? Because it just shows that you're actually getting to know them, and you can say, look, I read this, you know, that article, and that article in January's issue was amazing because of this, 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 and this. I think I'd really fit in here. I'd really like to be an expert commentator on that subject if you're talking to, you know, to the radio. So that's what you do. Yeah, and also don't forget you've got to stalk the journalist that you want to get into bed with. Excuse my language, hope you don't mind it. But yeah, it really is getting to know your journalist that you want to get in touch with. So why do you need to do that? Because you need to speak their language, and really importantly, if you really have been following one particular journalist and you're really ready and your story is really relevant, and then you look at their Twitter feed and you see that they're in Barbados or on a holiday somewhere, it's going to be a waste because they're not going to be in work mode. So make sure that your journalist is there and actually at work at her desk. So you can just, you know, follow them. Make sure you follow them on Twitter. Finally, number 5 is doing the journo approach. Yeah, so you can do a tweet to them. So, you know, like what they're doing, you know, share what they're doing, retweet. If they've written a book, take a photograph of the book of you proudly reading it, or at your coffee table, whatever. Just make sure that they know that you're engaged with them. So, you know, you're not just an anonymous person pitching to them. And then do a tweet to them if you haven't got their email address, and just say, for example, expert available to talk on travel. You know, having done X, Y, you know, whatever your killer headline is going to be, that's what you need to go in with. And then you can just do see press kit here or see bio here, and then just add a shortened link to your press kit. So those are my 5 steps on how to be seen as the go-to expert. Hope you like them. Now I'm going to go to the questions. So a question here is this: what can you do to manage what is printed? Now, you can't manage very well what is printed because it's up to the journalist and it's up to the editor. But what I do recommend you do is ask them if they can possibly, and I know most of the time, very often it's going to be a no, to include your website. If they can't include your website, don't worry. What is the name of your company? Try and ask them to mention the name of your company, so therefore you're going to be easily Googleable, okay? So that's one thing, because very often the journalist will say, well, we can't actually mention your website because then it's just going to be like an advertorial. And we're not here to do advertorials. I'm here, you know, they'll say, we are journalists. If you want to have an advert, it's going to speak to the ad sales team. So what can you manage? Just make sure that you give them all the correct facts. So, you know, don't kind of, if you don't know the answer, just say, I don't really, you know, have the right answer for that. So I'd like to answer it in this way. So just make sure whatever comes out of your mouth, you're happy for that to go into print. And if you've made a mistake and you've misspoken, what you can do is say, excuse me, I didn't actually mean to say that. That's totally off the record. So you can have a go at saying that. So a question is, how do I get into the press as a small business? So like I've just been giving you the 5 tips or the 5 steps on how to be seen as the go-to expert, it's the same thing really. It is researching. It really depends whether you're a trade business, you know, whether you want to go to trade or whether you want to go to consumer. But just start reading those magazines within your sector, or the magazines which you think that your target audience reads. Is it Institute of Directors? You know, does your audience hang out there? Is it Talk Business? Do you want to get your small business into Prima magazine? They did a recent spread on female entrepreneurs, or female entrepreneurs, and it was a really great spread. You know, from somebody who made ice creams to cupcakes. And I can't remember the other stories, but, you know, really interesting stories. You can be an inspirational entrepreneur. What is it about you that makes you stand out from the crowd, all the other cupcake makers? Do you make your cupcakes at 3 a.m. in the morning and you sing, you're an ex-jazz singer and you sing into the batter? What is it that's a bit quirky and a bit unusual? If you look at any press stories, it's always the human interest element that people love. You know, why do you read a magazine article? It's because there's going to be a human interest story. So what is it about you which offers human interest stories? So another question. Yeah, should I use the same approach for a glossy magazine as I would do for a weekly local paper? I would actually say yes. Getting into the local papers is really important. That is where the TV producers actually start their job, actually looking. Okay, so if you get into the local paper, you might be picked up already, so that's one thing. But if you want to get into the local paper, buy it week after week, get used to it, get used to the sections, and all the rest of it, what they're doing. Because you see, on Mondays they might do health, on Tuesdays they'll be doing sport, or like particular sections. So where do you think you sit there? So that's one thing. So yeah, it is totally the same approach, glossy magazine, local newspaper. I would say, in my experience, it's actually slightly easier to get into the local newspapers because, just think about who is bombarding them. Excuse me. So the local press hasn't got, so many thousands. Look, there's Susie Greaves, the editor of Psychologist magazine. When I first met her, I think she had 25,000 unread emails. The figure is now 38,000. I dread to think what the hell it is now. So she's a national glossy magazine, okay? Look at the amount of emails she gets. I really doubt that the local press will be getting quite as many approaches to them. So really, I would cut my teeth starting off local first. Hope that helps. What makes my book sexy to journalists and editors? Okay, so have you got an amazing headline? What is the title of your book? And then a great recommendation is, this is a John Williams recommendation, is because he's written a great book called Screw Work. I think, yep, Screw Work. He said, you write your book and then you get people to read it, and then somebody will read that book and they'll say, God, I love this piece, all about the X and Y that you've just mentioned. And you thought, God, I didn't even know that piece was really interesting or important when I was writing it. And that can be your new hook. So what is it? Get a few people to read your book, not friends, well, okay, work friends or colleagues, get them to read your book and say, just let me know when you finish reading it what really stood out for you. And then you might be able to do a bit of a press release all geared around that. And also your book might suddenly become really, really topical. So if you're talking about Lorraine Palmer, I know you've just done a press release all about raw food. It's constantly in the press about, obesity. So you might want to react to a story. There's going to be latest figures are going to be on this, this and this. So your book might be sexy because it's going to be reacting to a current news story. So your book might become newsworthy. How do you approach journalists and find the right contacts? So it does go back to what I was saying earlier about your 5 steps about how to become the go-to expert. So what I suggest you do is this: how to approach journalists and find the right contacts. So start by Twitter. A lot of journalists hang out on Twitter. They also hang out on Instagram. But I would really say your first port of call is Twitter. Also, don't forget to go to LinkedIn. Search them up on LinkedIn. And then the great thing is you can actually see where they're affiliated to, what schools they went to, where they're from in the country. There might be a common thread when you're actually pitching to them. So that's one thing. But definitely start following them on Twitter. Start liking their posts. Retweet, because whenever a journalist writes an article, they very often, publish the link in Twitter. So retweet that link and also put a comment saying, don't suck up to them that much, but just say, very highly inspirational piece on adult obesity or something, whatever. I can't think of what particular topic, but just get onto their radar and be helpful. I say it's like a relationship. It's like peeling an onion. When you first meet somebody, you don't want to know their life story in one blur, do you? I think it's really nice to get to know people, peeling an onion slowly, bit by bit. You don't want to hear about their divorce the minute you've met them. You want to hear about their life, on the top level. So just get to know journalists as you would like to get to know a friend, and you never know, those journalists might end up becoming your friends, which I'm very pleased to say some of them have actually become my good friends. It's amazing. It's amazing. So it's a great relationship, another way to meet people, make new friends, 40 and over. How do I pitch my services and my book in a way that seems like I'm not trying to advertise? So again, that goes back to the lead story. Hello, Christina. How are you, darling? Good to have you here. Just going to give me a thumbs up to make sure that I'm not just, you can actually hear me. Do you mind just doing that? So, what was I saying? How can I pitch my book and my services so it looks like I'm not trying to advertise? Yay, she can hear me. Thank you very much, my Irish darling. Yeah, so basically you don't want to come across as spammy and advertising-y all the time. So what you need to do is be reactive to the press, to the current news stories. Now that... Oh, you can't hear. Oh, my goodness. Can you hear me? You can't. Oh, my goodness, I'm panicking now. You can't hear me. Can you hear me? I think you can. Anyway, yes, you want to be reacting to this current news stories. Now, I know that Christina, who's just joined, is an expert in dating and psychopathic dating horror stories. So what you can do is this. You know, there's going to be people are becoming scammed, sadly, all the time, and it's in the news very, very often. So you just need to prick up your ears, listen to those scamming stories. You know, go online and just put dating scam, Christine. You can actually do that and set up a Google News alert. And then as soon as it comes into your inbox, you're on it, girl. You get onto that sofa on Sky News, or you get onto that sofa in Lorraine, which I know that you want to become their dating expert. So it really is reacting to the current stories that are going on as we speak. And that is how you do it without being, without sounding like you're advertising. Or you might have a product which is a really great solution to problems. Is it about weight loss? You know, what is your area of expertise and how do you help people? Have you got any great case studies that you've really transformed people? Brilliant tip, thank you. Well, there you go. Google News alerts. Get them set up right now. And actually, I can't remember how to do it now, but you can actually go to Google and set up news. You know, when you look at the various apps, it says images, shopping, blah, blah, blah. You've actually got news. So just scroll in there, but definitely set up Google Alerts. Let's go to another question. Have you got a question, Christina? Because it is live questions. I've got some which I've been sent in already, but if you have one. So I have got this question. I took your advice about the press release format, because a lot of people actually got my press release format. And they say, but I didn't have very much success to date. So with a press release, okay, you can have the right press release format, but if you haven't got the really enticing headline, that is what really grabs the attention of these busy journalists. They literally go scan and scan and scan. So did you use the 3 bullet points and did you put in statistics? Now I'm literally just sending out a press release, excuse me, and I made sure that I went to the FSB to grab latest data, latest statistics, and I'm going to show you what I said. Hang on a sec. Oh, can't open my inbox. Anyway, I just said in 2016 there are 5.5 million SMEs, and that figure has grown by 2 million since 2015. Many of these, the new bullet point, 76% of these SMEs are owned by one business owner. Basically, it's one business owner, all right? And so basically, this one business owner, I mean, who's a great mathematician around here? Christina, come on. Tell me what 76% of 5.5 million. Let's just say it is 4.7 million people are solopreneurs and they want to get themselves into the press. They want to be seen as that go-to expert. So I said that. And then I went on with my 5 steps. And this press release will be sent out very shortly. So let's hope that it's going to get some traction. But really, it is having a killer headline. It's being compelling. And also, really important, don't do a spray and pray. Don't just send it out to loads and loads of journalists. Really make sure that you're following those journalists, you're stalking them on Twitter, and you're seeing, boosh, is it the right moment for me to come in right now? What's the best way to nurture a journalist? So these FAQs are kind of keep cropping up. Oh, I think I've just got a question from Christina. I'm going to have to come close. Actually, I'm going to try and look in here so I don't have to squint right at the camera. Wait a minute. Oh, the stupid computer's now not playing ball. Right, okay. Hang on a sec, guys. I'm just going to look at the question here. I can't see it now. Hang on. I will in a minute. Just kind of taking a quick scroll. Well, do you know what? I'm going to have to come here. Sorry. Oh, you didn't, you don't have a calculator. Hang on, I'm going to have to touch the screen. Hang on. Here we are. This is Christina. I'm about to launch my oh God, don't say anything yet because it keeps disappearing. Hang on a sec. I'm about to launch both my updated site and online program, and also just doing more spiritual workshops in London. The workshops are something. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, I know you. So, Christina, I know, and we did a recent Q&A session, pitch clinic with Susie Greaves, and the question was, or rather the outcome was, you know, I have quite a few spiritual people in the spiritual world in my, you know, my groups. The great news is that there's going to be a spiritual revolution, or whatever it's called, in, you know, in the summer. So you are hot, hot, hot. You are hot anyway. But your story, your topic is going to be super hot. Yeah, so in the Evening Standard, it was page 3. I think you might have seen it in PR Secrets. I did actually post up the picture in PR Secrets that this guy, a shaman, has been treating or whatever, working very closely with Gwyneth Paltrow. Now, have you got any famous celebrities that you have worked with? Can you get hold of any? Can you do a few sessions with a celebrity? If you can, then whoosh to you, because it's all about the celebrity now. Thanks. You know, we all try to be hot, don't we? Anyway, so yeah, so it's going to be hot, and that was page 3. It was incredible. I was like, oh my God, it was literally the same day that we've been doing our pitch clinic with Susie Greaves, who is the editor of Psychologist, and she said to the spiritual people on the call, she said, it's hot, it's live, and you are going to be, you know, it's going to be big stuff in the summer. So hop onto it right now. So I would, if I was you, Christina, get your press release written. What's the, you know, what is the title of your, you know, of your clinic or whatever, your workshop you're going to be doing? What's it all about? How are you going to help people? And do you have any people who are famous or quasi-famous who you can actually say that you've treated or whatever? That's what I would do. And just get the press release sent out to people who you think would be interested, okay? Some people aren't really into all this, like they call it woo-woo, but actually woo-woo is becoming sexy and sassy, and it's the way to go. That's all I can say. So, you know, bring spirituality to the mainstream. That's what you're going to do. And also, do you know what? It's literally going back to our roots. Cave women times, Neolithic. You've got the shamans who've been around for centuries and centuries and centuries. It's not like it's some new thing that's being invented. It's connecting with your past and with your present and with your future. But I don't know much about it, so I can't say. But anyway, that'll bring me to a close for the session. I hope you've really enjoyed it. Hit a love heart if you have. Come on, hit me up, girls. And I look forward to catching you live next Wednesday. All right, so thank you very much. Oh, Claudia Jenner's, okay. Mi amiga de Peru has just joined the live. So Claudia Jenner, what is your question? Quickly, all about getting into the press. You have run an amazing Latin supper club. Would you like to know how to get a double page spread in the local news? I tell you how. You say you invite the journalist over for an amazing taster session of your food, and then they'll be so in love with all the spices and everything, they'll send across the photographer at the same time, and then you'll get a double page spread. I'll tell you why I'm saying that, because we did just that for Claudia, and she got a double page spread twice in the Colchester Gazette. So thank you very much for joining, everybody. You know, and it's been lovely. Hope you've been able to hear me okay. I'm not sure about the microphone, but I'm sure it's fine. So catch you very soon, and good luck with getting into the press.